guys. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Sweat Equity Podcast. This is Law Smith. I'm recording this on my own at 9:15 the Monday night before we release this episode because I dicked up. I fucked up. I lost our intro. Caleb and I recorded after having a great conversation with Break Content's Zack Yanger from Tampa, now lives in Brooklyn, and we had a great intro going, million laughs. I was like Maybach Diamonds if you go back an episode before this. So I apologize. You're going to have to hear my mumbly voice for the next couple of minutes. If you like our podcast, remember, just flick out the link or blog post or iTunes or however you listen to this, Podbay, I think Stitcher. You can listen on Libsyn.com, which is the host. We're all that stuff's in the cloud, but it gets out to you. It's kind of cool. We don't have a huge audience, but the people that do listen, the 500 or so, or 500 to 1,000, really enjoy it, and I love getting the feedback. So make sure to hit us up in the comments on Facebook, on iTunes. If you want to rate, review, subscribe, that's that cheat code that helps us get up. If you're wondering why all those other podcasts are up there, and you're like, hey man, why isn't this is good? Why isn't this up there? That's the code. I don't think it's right, and I need to talk to my homie, an Auburn alumni, Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, and just kind of go, hey man, what's up? So anyway, I want to make sure we get an intro and kind of bring you into the world of Zack Yanger and do a formal apology for Caleb, who not only hooked up Zack to get on this podcast, but was able to get him to, let's put it this way. We tried to do a Google Hangout with this so we could have a little video action. That didn't work. And basically, I know it from the other side where I don't have a lot of patience running a business where like all my time matters. Zack was very patient. About 45 minutes later, we just had to do it through Skype and record it on some new app and had to figure it out on the fly. But that's why he's good people, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey Zach, it's Caleb with my good buddy Law with Sweat Equity. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for making some time. We know you're busy up there in New York City, and thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, of course. Excited.
So basically, what we like to do with the show, and I know you told us a little bit when we were chatting beforehand. You've listened to a couple episodes, but we really just have seen a lot of the work you've done. We've seen a lot of the work that Break Content has done and kind of what you've brought into fruition with Break Content. But we kind of just want to hear a little bit about your story and how you got started with what you're doing. And really any advice to people out there that you've learned along the way of kind of building your own business.
Yeah, so I started Break Content about 2 years ago now. I myself come from an advertising background here in New York. I moved up here right after school and started working for Ogilvy and Mather and McGarry Bowen, two big ad agencies here in the city. And when working at those agencies, I worked on a number of big brands like Marriott and Chevron, and we were responsible for creating all of their advertising. And I really started to see that the entire ad industry was changing really, really quickly, and I saw a major opportunity coming about. Basically, all of these big brands are having more and more needs for compelling content, but the big established production companies are having a really hard time doing that and making high-quality video without the big budgets and the long lead times that they've always been accustomed to. And I realized that if I could figure out a way to give brands a way to create really great content quickly and cost efficiently, that we could really start making a difference in the entire industry as a whole. And so around the same time, I myself was getting really into filmmaking and video production, and I started to meet some really talented filmmakers all over the place. And I realized that all over the world, there are these really, really talented content creators that aren't working full time anywhere. They're freelancers and they are hungry and talented. And it's just a matter of finding these people. And so I thought about it and I realized that if I could build a network of these people and give brands a way to create content with local filmmakers on the ground around the world, that we could really bring budgets down and we could start doing things a lot quicker. When I was working at the big ad agencies, one of the main things that really blew my mind is how much money it took to get things done. To make a simple video for Facebook, was costing $250,000-$300,000, and
wow.
In my mind, I'm like trying to figure out how that's even possible. And a big part of it is, let's say a brand like Coca-Cola wants to shoot a commercial in Beijing or in India. Just the travel costs to send a crew over to Beijing or India for a number of days, that's going to be tens of thousands of dollars right there. And if we could just tap into really talented filmmakers in Beijing or India without having to send a crew over there, that brings budgets way, way down. And so we've been doing some really cool work with some really innovative brands like Intel and FedEx, and it's been going really well. We just opened another office in Denver about 6 months ago, and our network has continued to grow. We last month signed on our 400th content creator in more than 120 countries around the world. And so that's our big pitch now to brands and to agencies, is that we can help them create really awesome video content quickly and cost efficiently anywhere in the world by tapping into our network of local content creators.
So the way I see it, and we've talked about this on other episodes, and we talked before we got on. We're on Skype, so if anybody's listening and wondering why it's kind of a little jagged between our conversation, that's why. And it took about, thank you for having the patience for us fucking this up for about 45 minutes before we started. But my thing, the way I kind of was while I was listening about y'all's business kind of strategy, is we've been talking about disintermediation a lot, and that's the boring way of saying the Uber for this and the Uber for that. You're essentially you found that thing where you go, hey, this is a huge cost. There's a lot of red tape, and there's a lot of just time wasted, which essentially is cost accounting problems. And so you go, hey, I see this as an opportunity. Now, here's the part where I kind of go, God, this sounds super ambitious, and this sounds, it sounds like, for me, it's I do the same thing with freelancers, but I do it for all freelancers. I just see a nightmare of like trying to organize and find the best. And when you have a big company, they want it their way. And so how do you dictate that? I guess let's start there here. How do you find good content creators? Are you plucking them from Instagram and Snapchat or YouTube or whatever? Or are you putting it out there, in Upwork or something like that?
So there's a number of ways that we go about it. In the beginning, I had a number of contacts from my ad agency days that were some really talented filmmakers in multiple cities around the world. And I started it kind of small, and then really I started going city by city and using websites like Behance and just searching through Vimeo and looking for videographers that have a really, really unique style and a really good look, but that aren't going to be so established that they're going to be crazy expensive. It's this sweet spot of guys that are, they're experienced enough to have really great work on their profile, on their portfolios, but they aren't yet charging $20,000 a day to work with them. So it's really just was literally going country by country and having Skype calls with these people, reaching out, telling them I'm starting this network, and just having the conversations. And you'd be surprised. I mean, there's so many people around the world that are really talented, but they just don't have the way to get to the big brands. And so I'm trying to merge the two, where, I'm now having relationships with these big brands that need the content, and now I'm able to put them on projects with content creators that are, content creators from Ghana, Africa, that in a million years wouldn't be able to do a, video shoot for Coca-Cola, but now they're able to, because our company is giving Coca-Cola access to this local network.
So you're up at you're up at all hours doing Skype calls, I'm guessing. You're in Brooklyn right now, and someone in Beijing or someone in Ghana, you're gonna have to. Are you having these weird kind of hours where you're, at least in the beginning, when you're trying to procure all these content creators? Are you just like, fuck it, man, I'll get up at 3 a.m. and talk to this guy, and then or gal, and whatever it takes, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. So the first almost year of the business was me completely dedicated to building this network. It was a lot of late nights, a lot of 3 a.m. Skype calls. But I knew that as soon as I got the network done, and my goal was to get filmmakers in 100 countries. And so once I reached having filmmakers in 100 countries, that's when I kind of shifted my focus from continuing to build the network and now going more after the projects. But we still are adding talented content creators weekly. We've got a sign up page on our website where content creators can send us their info to apply to join the network now. But yeah, in the beginning it was definitely a lot of late nights, but now I've got more of a team to help me with it, so it's not as bad anymore.
Zach, it sounds like you guys solve a lot of different problems with some of these, some of your clients who come to you, and like you had mentioned before, like, man, we need a video crew in Ghana because we want to do this commercial, or we need to do, some sort of product promotion and need a video for it. But you guys solve the logistical nightmare that also leads to a financial nightmare. And then you guys provide the quality content. And it seems like, this is when you hear it, an idea, it sounds awesome, but to execute something like that, can you talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned, you went out, and once you got to having established talent in 100 countries, that you went out after some of the projects. What was it like going after those projects? Did you guys find any, some of your failures that maybe companies said, yeah, we're not going to go with you guys. Maybe we want somebody who is, it's more in-house. We don't mind sending people out and paying for this, or those sort of things. Or as soon as people hear you guys, are they just like, yeah, we can save money on this. Like, let's go that route. And we've seen your portfolio, so we know we're going to get the quality of work that we're expecting. Talk about some of your failures, and then maybe how those conversations go with some of your potential clients.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in the beginning, the focus was definitely, building the network. But then once we had the network built, in order to get projects from any of the big brands, you have to have a respectable portfolio. And so, going straight into it with really no work to show in the beginning, it really was, just a numbers game. For every 50 phone calls I had, I was able to get one person interested. And it was really just a matter of, hustling and making it happen. Now we've gone ahead and built out a sales team. And so that's what most of our Denver office now is, our sales guys, who are basically reaching out to ad agencies and brands directly to try and find interesting, cool video projects. But, with any startup and with any business, there's going to be many failures in the early days. And, for us, it wasn't so much failures like we weren't, doing a good job, because I really do stand by all of the projects that we've done to date. Right. But it was more just, when I'm calling up Coca-Cola or when I'm calling up, JetBlue and trying to get them to take me seriously, until you have some work on your portfolio that is worthy of them taking you seriously, it's hard to do. And so in the beginning, it really is just about, relationships, trying to find people that'll kind of take a chance on you, trying to find people that, like what you're doing, like the vision of your company, and are willing to give you that first project. And, once we got our first big project, which our first project was actually for TIAA CREF, the financial services company, basically, and that was actually a photography project where basically they wanted to show how global they are as a brand and how they're helping small businesses all around the world. And so over the course of a month, we sent out local photographers in 30 different cities around the world to sit down with real TIAA customers. And so for something like that, for TIAA to send out photographers in 30 different cities, you can imagine how expensive that would be. That would take years to do. That would take, if they needed to send one crew to 30 different cities, just the travel costs alone would be astronomical. But with our network, we're able to pull the trigger on something like that really quickly, send out the local filmmakers, in a much shorter amount of time and get it done. And so once we got that first project out of the way, then, it's kind of a snowball effect. And, what we're selling and what we are, calling up brands, trying to get them to listen to us. It's not hard to get phone calls because right now everybody's trying to figure out how to create engaging, high quality content more cost efficiently and quicker. And so when we're calling them, telling them we have a solution for that, we can usually get 10 minutes of someone's time.
Yeah, you at least get to kind of give them what you guys are about and see if there's a direction they want to go with you. Yeah. What is it like? I think the hiring process for any company, and even when you're bringing on creative talent, it can be pretty scary because you've got to hope you did enough due diligence to know that person's work is going to be up to your standard when called upon. And I know, with law here at TokaWorks, that's something that can be nerve-wracking at times as well. That things are going to go kind of according to your standard.
It's the Trojan horse independent contractor. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, this person looks really good on paper or when we talk, but when it comes down to executing, can they follow my project management? And in my head, I'm listening to this and I'm still like, this has to be kind of a project management nightmare, just because that's not my my best suit, I'd say, as far as just being able to send people out there. I guess you have a system for that, right?
Yeah, and so Zach, what I was going to ask you is you have 30 photographers going around to different places and taking these photos. How do you get everyone on the same page? How do you get everyone to say, hey, look, here's the type of shot we're looking for. Here is what we need. Here's the subject that we need of the photo or photos, and then I'm sure you pick which one you think would go best. How does something like that get put into motion and get organized?
Yeah, so that's a major question that I get all the time is when you're doing things, especially for projects where you're using multiple different content creators on the same project. Not only how do you get everyone on the same page and how do you ensure everybody does what you want, but how do you ensure there's some sort of consistency and that it doesn't feel like a Frankenstein piece that was done by 20 different people? And so there's a number of things. The first part is in the upfront. So every single content creator in our network has been thoroughly vetted to where I've had multiple conversations with them. I have seen tons of their work where I know that they're experienced enough. I know they're going to show up on time. I know they're going to be where I tell them to be. But then also, we're having all of the photographers, all of the filmmakers shoot on the same exact equipment. So for that
Gotcha.
particular project, they were all shooting on Canon Mark IIIs or
And is
Canon,
that some-
Canon 5Ds. And
Is that
then,
something that's fairly common for these photographers to just have, to have around, or is it something that they could rent and kind of you guys would cover the cost?
yeah, so for the photographers that had them, they used theirs, and then we rented them for any of the photographers that didn't have that type of camera.
Gotcha.
But then, in addition to using the same camera, they're all shooting towards the same shot list. So we're giving them a very clear shot list of exactly what we need them to get, and they're all shooting towards the same thing. And then, for video, the other part is, we love to handle all of the editing and post here in Brooklyn. So even if we're sending 10 different filmmakers out to get footage in 10 different cities, we can then, as long as they all shoot it the same way, all flat, low contrast, low saturation, when we get it back, we can color grade the footage so that it all looks consistent. So even though it was all shot by different people, you can still give it a consistent look and a consistent feel. But yeah, totally hear you, Law. Like with this business, at times it can definitely be a nightmare with coordinating so many different people, so many different details. But that's just that's what we've
that's being the boss.
really good at.
Yeah, I mean, like that's eventually I was like, and I shouldn't have said it's my strong suit because now it's kind of like something I've been really thoughtful about and kind of really trying to focus on getting better at and giving client expectations too. So I don't know if you do the math in your head. So like I'll talk to a client and I'll go, okay, you need some new branding and you need an online marketing strategy, and we've already cleared that out. So we'll get you these deliverables and let's get the branding and website up and we'll get that going and give us about a month for that. And then and really in my head I'm like, all right, I gotta tell my independent contractors that's a 2-week deadline, because I know it's gonna creep. And sometimes it's me not following up every day. I don't want to be a micromanaging kind of project manager. At the same time, they're kind of like feral cats a little bit. Everybody's kind of, if a lot of reason a lot of people are freelancers is because they don't have a lot of discipline or a lot of discipline to take notes in a regular job. I don't know if you feel that on your end. I think I get that, but I'm only using local Floridians, so so it might be different. Have you seen different work ethics, like kind of depending on what country you're getting these independent contractors from?
I haven't seen any country specific trends, but definitely for video projects, for instance, if we need to send out filmmakers in 3 different cities to go capture footage, I already know that the filmmaker, that's a creative person. They may not have the skill set that a producer has in handling all those details, and so that's why we always try to send out a local producer with the filmmaker so that they can be the ones handling the details and the filmmaker can focus on the creative work. And so in that situation, I'll be relaying all of the information to the producers who have also been vetted, and then I'll know that they can then manage the filmmakers, photographers, creative types that may not have that skill set. But I've worked with many different filmmakers that are on the ball and on their game, and so it's really it's hit or miss. Everyone's a little bit different, but and when you're in a business like this where you're working with so many different people, I really think a big part of it is just client expectations. You just got to manage expectations with your client. You got to make sure that they are fully aware. So if you foresee some sort of issue that could push a deadline a few days, always just be upfront, transparent as soon as you possibly find out about it. Go through it with your client and let them know. And if you're just setting their expectations the whole time, I feel like the times you get in a lot of trouble with clients is when you don't let them know that shit's about to hit the fan and then shit hits the fan. But I think, if you kind of set their expectations a little earlier on that shit might hit the fan, then when it does, they're much cooler about it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing of having just human capital. It's just like that I look at everything from a business owner perspective. Anything I buy, personal or business, the second question I ask, just like I tell anybody that does a deck, they have an app idea and they want to pitch it. I go, yeah, my business teacher told me the second slide's your exit, and I always think about that with, I think about that if I buy a washer and dryer, I'm like, all right, what's the warranty? Like what, I was never that guy growing up. And now I think with employees, or independent contractors, I should say, legally by my attorney, Stephen Fantetti Legal, Your Business Refined. Yeah, I'll give him a plug. But like with the human capital you have with your business, which I know is a kind of a douchey term, but it's one of those things where it's just gonna fuck up. Something's gonna fuck up. You're never gonna be 100%. Now, can you? And I think you're about to touch on that. Can you see problems 3 steps ahead? So where you're like, all right, we got to get some photos in Ghana, but I don't know. We might send three photographers or 3 different producers in 3 different areas of Ghana because I want coverage, and it's worth, maybe the margin will be a little bit less on this project, but we're going to deliver on time. Is that something you're kind of thinking through now, or is that, I guess how are you able to see stuff now ahead of time than when you did when you started?
I think it just comes with experience and doing projects. The first project that I did, I definitely wasn't on the ball as much as I am now, and I think it's the same thing with anything. The more experience you get, the more you learn how to kind of see around those corners a little earlier. And also, I'm getting now to a point where I'm focusing more on kind of new business and going out and getting the projects. And, I've got a really, really good team of producers, especially here in Brooklyn, that are just, they're really talented. These are most of them worked at big ad agencies before. And, I really do. I think that working at a big ad agency is an incredible experience for anyone, looking to have a good career, really in anything. The hours are long, it's high stress, but, you really do learn how to manage clients and how to kind of problem solve. And so, I think that hiring people that have worked at those big agencies and now, getting them in a little bit more of a startup, smaller environment, it definitely, it has helped us a lot. And I think that, I owe all of our success to my team for sure.
And to that point, take us back a little bit, and we'll start to backtrack here. But kind of take us back to, you're working at a big ad agency and you start to see this void. I know before you had mentioned, just the ridiculous amounts of money you were finding that people are spending with some of these budgets that they have, and how it's just completely not necessary to need these huge budgets to get these projects done. So,
yeah.
Kind of take us back to targeting that void, and then just the excitement and kind of, or lack thereof. I don't know if it was exciting or not. I'm just kind of assuming here. For most people it is. But understanding, man, I can really make a move here. I've acquired enough skills. I've got a good enough head on my shoulders to try to at least attempt to become a player in the game here.
And that's a beer cracking in the background, if you're wondering.
Yeah.
It's it's been a long Saturday already. So yeah.
Well, yeah, so I think the first kind of huge aha moment for me was when I was producing a TV spot for Marriott. Marriott was the first brand that I worked on, and I
Nice.
remember after everything was said and done, going back and looking through the scope of work at the budget and seeing that just for this one TV spot there was like $65 or $70,000 worth of travel just in hotel, airfare for like the crew and the team from the agency and all that.
And that's that some random dude in the travel department got all those points for that too.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just a ton of other things. Right now, brands they're starting to smarten up a little bit to the costs that these things really to what things really cost. 10 years ago, spending $1 million on a TV spot was the norm. That wasn't even considered that big of a budget. But now things are really changing just because I think a lot of brands are starting to work with more nimble, more creative, up and coming shops that can put a lot more focus onto the brand versus some of these big agencies that have 40, 50 big clients. And so just I'm backtracking a little, but for me, when I really kind of saw those travel costs for the Marriott shoot, that was kind of the first aha where I was like, well, why didn't we just use a local crew in the city that we were shooting instead of sending a crew here from New York and having to pay their hotel, having to pay all of these fees. And so that was kind of one of the first things. And then I've always kind of been entrepreneurial. I've always wanted to start a business. I had another business back in college where we sold ski boot shin pads. It's called Shinnies.
Nice.
I have always wanted to do it, and so as soon as I kind of saw an opportunity, I just kind of jumped at it.
Yeah, I mean this is an amazing idea. I mean you're essentially an air traffic controller. There's a lot of what you're doing. I'm sure now you have it delegated out a little bit, but when you're starting this out, a lot of that is just like, okay, I know the idea. I get it. I can save this cost that on their bottom line of their budget, and once you get that, and then it's like, okay, now I got to deliver. And anything with that first big thing that took where you're like, where you're just super anxious about it, and now you might not be.
Well, I mean, it really is. I believe with anything, but starting a business like this, it really is all about faking it till you make it. Like in the early days where we didn't have any big brand work on our portfolio, and I'm trying to get these meetings with these big brands. It just was a matter of getting them to like you, getting them to like your ideas. For a while there in the beginning, we were basically cold calling brands and sending them emails, and we were coming up with 2 or 3 really awesome video ideas before we even got a call with them. And so we would basically email them, call them, and say, hey, we have 3 amazing video ideas for you guys. Can you give us 10 minutes? And so normally you don't spend the time thinking of the ideas until you're getting paid, but in the beginning you got to make some sacrifices. And so for us, we were able to get some of those early phone calls by putting in the upfront work and coming up with some really awesome ideas that would then, show them, we have creative thinking, we're hungry, and you'd be surprised. There's people out there, like all these decision makers at every company, every big brand. The person that is deciding what company they're going to go with to make this video is just a person like you and me, and it's just a matter of getting them to like you. It's really all about relationships, and as we've continued to get more and more work, it's just a matter of getting your current clients to think what you did for them is awesome. Like basically the business that I'm in the business of making my clients look good. We never get the credit. It's not about getting the credit. So if we make this amazing video for our client, we want them to get all the PR. We want them to, have huge success from this video. And if we never get mentioned, so what? Because as long as the brand is getting some awesome PR and getting some awesome results, then they're going to keep coming back to us every time. And so that's really what it's all about. And I'm sure you guys, are the same way with Choco Works. That's how it is. We're in the business of just making our clients look like geniuses.
Yeah, and you guys mainly want to impress the people who make the decisions. It's if they get the good feedback, being the company who you're contracting with and working for, that's going to be great. And you want them to talk to their friends. If Coke is talking to their friends over at at Lay's or something, just because I got chips on my mind right now.
Even the Koch brothers.
Yeah, the Koch brothers.
They're big money.
So you want people to talk and you want people to take notice. So it's almost one of those things like, the law always says, good work begets good work, and I think that's so true in your case, and you almost know how well you're doing by what your inbox looks like when you wake up in the morning, or if your phone's ringing or not, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely, in this industry, there's busier times of the year and slower times of the year, and it ebbs and flows. But I've been lucky in that we've been busy for a while now. But everything, every project, every client that you make, every project that you do, you're on this path. And so right now we're doing a bunch of work for Intel. I didn't just, one day get access to the Intel clients. And we first did a really small client. We did a small project for an ad agency that was doing some work for Intel, a small, maybe $2,000-$3,000 project. And then we did that really well. And then that agency ended up bringing us on for a project that we collaborated on for Intel, and that was when I got to meet the Intel clients and kind of get some time with them, and it started that relationship there, and then was able to then try and get some work directly for Intel. And so it's really you never start on the path where you want to end up. You just kind of work your way through it, and it's a lot of luck too. It's really just.
No, don't say luck, man. Look, it's hard work, and it feels like luck because it comes out of nowhere. But I can tell you've got the grit, and you've got hustle. I don't believe in luck. It's a nice thing to say. It sounds humble, but I know most entrepreneurs don't really want to believe that, and I definitely don't. And I don't want to believe on luck. I don't want to believe on hope or luck. That's just me. And I know I'm kind of getting aggressive about it, but I'm saying
love doesn't exist either.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Love exists for sure. I love Bo Jackson. I should have said my wife, but yeah, I love Bo Jackson. I have a man crush for him. That's fine. But I'm saying luck in business. Sure, you're catching. Sure, you're lucky to be born, and you're lucky to have been born at a time where you sought this opportunity in an age where the internet becomes very easy to engage with people now on your phone. In most places, you can talk to someone via Slack. I'm sure you got your Slack and Asana game going hard with your guys all over the world. And I just feel like, sure, there's an element of luck, but look, man, this podcast, if it's anything, is about hustle over everything else. And so I can't let that slide.
So I'm not going to let you get away with that. Hey, and I'm kind of interested too. Where I'm not kind of interested. I'm very interested. But where did it change for you? Where did it go from we're going to fake it till we make it, and maybe we'll, like you said, we're going to have some, we're going to have 3 ideas kind of storyboarded and ready for when we email Coke, or for when we email, Samsung or whoever, or try to get a call with them, to people calling you. I feel like that's the big identifier, as a turning point in a company. I know for myself with Scouting Block, I was putting myself out there over and over, just showing up to baseball tournaments and I would just go and I'd start filming, and I'd have parents come up to me and be like, "Who are you filming?" And I'd just be like, "Well, who's your son?" And we'd start talking, and I'd end up with a video.
Come check out in my van.
Yeah, I'll show you behind that curtain over there. And then once you do it enough, your phone starts ringing, your inbox starts going off. And when did it kind of change for you guys? Was there a big project that you guys did? Was there a certain project you were working on where maybe the word started to spread a little bit, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so for us, the first year of the business was me focused on building the network, and then once we started really kind of hustling and going out and trying to get the work, we really did start really small with some really, really small projects. We did a few projects for free even, just to get the relationships that we needed to kind of get to the next step. And for us, I think our first big project was that TIAA one, where we sent out photographers in 30 different cities, and for that, that made it easy for us to then email a bunch of other brands and say, "Hey, look what we did for them. We can do it for you guys too."
Right.
And we're still, we're not at a place where Coca-Cola and Southwest are blowing up my inbox. We're still having to hustle every day to get projects. But it's definitely gotten a lot easier now that we have some really cool work to send along in those emails, and some really cool work to talk about in these pitch meetings. So for us,
it seems like you're at that point now where you can, maybe Coke's not, texting you, the marketing and ad director at Coke, maybe he's not shooting you text messages, but you're at the point now where you can breathe a little bit. And it seems like you guys are rolling. We've been, checking out your stuff on breakcontent.com, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You guys have it all covered. And it seems like you guys, you don't need us to tell you this. You do a really good job with your work, but B, you guys have work to do, and that's the most noticeable part. So it seems like, you guys are definitely in the fight.
Yeah, man, it's been great. And I have my team to thank for it, for sure. I mean, my sales guys are really hungry, and they really are a team of awesome hustlers out in Denver. Literally every day, cold calling probably 100 new companies every single day, and it really is a numbers game. For every 100 people we reach out to, we'll get maybe 1 or 2 phone calls, and it's just a matter of, when you get that one phone call, doing it right. And I think we've gotten now to a place where we have a pretty good system. We have good work to show, and it's going well. So I definitely am loving life right now.
That's great.
Now, I should have done my research a little bit. Have y'all made your own content to express your company and try to, I'm a big Facebook advertiser kind of guy, because I love how targeted it is. And LinkedIn's not quite there yet, but I see the business-to-business value of both. I guess my thing, I always tell people, like, if they come to our office, it kind of looks a little jumbled because, it's one of those things where and our website is not where I want it to be, and our branding is not where I want it to be necessarily. But I always say it's like clients first, and we'll get to it. But eventually I got to make time for that. And that's the next 6 weeks. I'm really trying to work on that. For y'all, I don't know if y'all have tried. I guess I hear a sales room, a call room. And I'm just like, I wonder if they could reach guys, by showing them what they're about. But I guess it's a hard thing to explain.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely have started pushing out our own content. A lot of times if you're calling companies and trying to convince them to let us create their content, they're going to want to see that we did it for ourselves first. So we've done some pretty cool stuff. We have an Instagram feed called Millennials of the World, where we send out our photographers in different countries around the world and do features on interesting millennials. And so that's a pretty cool thing to check out.
Is that similar to like a Humans of New York type deal, but more around the world?
Very similar. It's
a great concept.
Just more global, and it's all kind of millennials and millennial focused stuff. And then right now we're also in the process of making a video. It's called Through Our Eyes, and my goal is to use footage from 100 different countries in the video. And so right now we've got filmmakers going out, and we send them shot lists, and we're trying to put together a story that kind of flows from beginning to end, but uses footage from 100 different countries. So that'll probably be ready in another month.
Nice.
But yeah.
Do you ever send someone with a shot list that they're just going to be like, they get like kind of the shaft, and you're just like, hey, we need you to go find a lion in the wild.
We need you to go
get real close. Yeah, like we need something just kind of like obscure, where I'm sure some of those things come up and you're like, well,
remember that dentist that shot that lion? Yeah, could you get some footage, something like that?
Ramik's going to really hate this, but we need that shot. Like, have you guys ever had something that you kind of send out on a call and you don't think it's going to go well?
We've definitely had some very interesting projects where I'm not fully confident how it's going to turn out until it's over. Right now we're in the process of starting to figure out this project where one of our clients, they want to create a video where we take hamsters and dress them up like people and have the hamsters like basically doing like real people things.
Laundry.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, Kia is really on those hamsters.
Making Hot Pockets.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I'm like, there's so many things I can control. I can control the lighting. I can control how it looks. But like being able to control a hamster and what he does, I'm not so confident about. But so that's a special case for sure. But
just point to Evan Almighty and just go, hey, you know why that one was so expensive?
Yeah.
That movie is because they have a fucking shitload of animals. It was one of the most expensive movies to make because everything got delayed because animals are
it's a little unpredictable.
It's crazy. Yeah, they're volatile. It's a hard variable to knock down. We'll wrap this up, and I guess the question I'd try to wrap it up with, unless you have something, Caleb, but I was going to say, it's kind of a two-parter. You have filmmakers, photographers, directors, producers. You have graphic designers. You have animators, illustrators, writers, editors, all that. Who's someone good for if they're listening and maybe they want to get involved and kind of do some freelance work to prove it to you? I guess go to your site, but what would you look for? And then the other side of that is what's your minimum client? Because I could see myself using y'all's service as subcontracted if something in the medium to large business came my way where it's like, oh shit, I gotta, because I'm scaling up as much as y'all are, and I'm not at that level where y'all are at, but I'm saying, I try to see these things ahead of time, and so I go, okay, if I have a large brand in this area that wants to work with us, but I need content that y'all provide, what is that good client, if that makes sense?
So yeah, let me try to answer that. So so the first part of your question, how does somebody go about reaching out or getting involved with us? We now every Friday we will as a team kind of review any of the content creators that have either applied through our website or a lot of times some of the filmmakers that we work with will send their friends our way that are also filmmakers. And so we've got each week we've got multiple people hitting us up, and so we'll watch their work. We're looking for people that have a unique style. We don't want everybody in the network to be the same. So we want to have some documentary filmmakers, some humor comedy filmmakers, some big brand commercial filmmakers, and so we definitely are looking for people that have something unique about them. But then also it's people that when I jump on the phone with them or jump on Skype with them, they are smart. I know that they know what they're doing. If I throw some kind of some zingers at them, asking them about some sort of technical stuff, they're on the ball and they know what they're doing, and just they seem like somebody that I would want to work with, because at the end of the day, every single one of these filmmakers in our network, if I'm putting them on a project, they're representing Break Content, and so we take that very seriously. But definitely, anybody that wants to join the network or get a chance to do some cool projects with some big brands, they can apply right through our website or just send an email to really anyone on our team. Then the second part of your question,
it doesn't have to be like, I don't want you to kind of, I'm not saying like,
honestly, I don't even remember
just kind of what's a good client. If you were getting referrals, what would be a good client for y'all? Because it seems like y'all sound like you work with very large brands, but you may have that small local sector as well. I don't know. So I'm trying to see. I'm genuinely asking because for my own selfish reasons, but the first part of that question was, hey, I might have guys for you that I'm going to tell to apply. But the second half is just as selfish as just saying, hey, what is a good referral your way, or what's a good bid to throw your way?
Yeah. So, really it's... Oh,
no. Did Skype go out?
Did it not work?
Hey, Zach, there you are.
There you are, yeah.
You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, yeah, we definitely love working with the big global brands, but, there's tons of startups, there's tons of small businesses that need content as well. And so, while we do love getting the big budget projects, we still take on smaller budget things all the time. We're still doing stuff for law firms. We're still doing stuff for some nonprofits. That's a big thing that we do each year. It's called Content with a Cause. And basically, at the end of each year, we select a nonprofit that we think has done some really cool things that year, and we create a video for them completely free of charge. And so each year we do that at the end of the year. So we're doing stuff with nonprofits, and I'm trying to, for as long as possible at least, I'm trying to be a company that services everyone and can kind of help not only the big global brands get stuff done and create cool content, but also smaller local brands as well. Any budget is a budget, and we're not at a place right now where we're turning stuff away. So any company that needs compelling, interesting content, whether that's video, photography, writing, we would definitely be interested in working with them.
Cool.
That's great, man. Hey, Zach, we want to thank you for coming on and making time. Like we said earlier, as we were cracking our beers, it is a Saturday, and I know a lot of times when you've got your own business and you've got your own things going on, the weekdays don't always contain your work hours. And we want to thank you for making time to come on Sweat Equity and kind of let us into your world a little bit. Do you mind telling everybody where they can find you guys, on the web, on social media, and all those sort of things? So if they're interested, they can check you guys out.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you guys again for having me on. I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and I love what you guys are doing. I'm super interested in any sort of business, startup, entrepreneurial focused podcasts. So this is my first podcast. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, we're glad to have you on your first, man.
Yeah, taking my cherry. And then where people can find us, just go to breakcontent.com. It's BREAK content.com. And you go to our contact page, it'll have all of our social media links. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus, Vimeo, YouTube, pretty much everything. So definitely check out some of our work, and reach out if anybody knows of anybody that needs some videos.
Oh, I definitely know, and I got a shitload of comedians that are actually talented filmmakers, and I'm excited to be able to throw some stuff your way.
Law and I have been behind the mic here the whole time, kind of giving each other that one look, like that head nod every time we think of someone who might fit the bill for you guys, and we've been giving that look the entire episode. So
my neck
awesome.
Yeah, but hey man, thank you so much for coming on again, and anybody listening that's interested, go check these guys out, breakcontent.com. From there, you can find all their social media plugs and all that good stuff. And we are looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing in the future. And like we said, man, we're big fans of yours and everything at Break Content. And we're just glad you came on. Thanks for giving us the time.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
All right, man. Later. Enjoy Brooklyn.
All right. See ya.
See ya.